Hey everyone, welcome back to the Layback Podcast. Joining us today is right-handed pitcher, new signee of the Indiana baseball program. He's the newest Hoosier. This is Jackson Bergman. Jackson and I got connected initially from, I guess, a mutual buddy of ours, Luke Kraus. Luke Kraus, former podcast guest, left-handed pitcher at BGSU, but Jackson was dealing with a little bit of an elbow thing. I think Luke and Luke's father, who is a chiropractor out in Western Ohio, suggested Jackson take a look at FlexPro Grip, and ultimately we hit the ground running from there. So we can talk a little bit about Jackson's rehab from his elbow hiccup later on in the podcast. But Jackson, before I even let you give your bio, I want to cover how close are you to being the most famous person from Hicksville, Ohio?
I don't think I'm as close as you think I am because when I was in elementary school, there was a football player who walked on to Wyoming. And I think after his first year, I think he was like a 3-year captain on the football team, earned a scholarship. And I guess he's probably like the Hicksville legend. So, because I obviously grew up outside of Hicksville. So I came to Hicksville in high school or elementary school. So it wasn't like I was a Hicksville born and raised, but yeah, I'd say he's the number one.
Your bio on all your college rosters says you're from Hicksville, correct?
Yeah, yeah, from Hicksville. I
So,
went there in fourth grade, so I was there most of my life. But yeah,
yeah, I encourage everyone to go give Hicksville, Ohio a little Wikipedia search, read about
yeah,
the history. But I would have to think you're not that far off from being the most famous person to be from Hicksville.
I don't know. I mean, I've never thought about that. So the
Yeah,
first time
I thought about it this morning while I was grocery shopping and prepping for
like
the podcast.
Hicksville, Ohio has 3,500 people there, so small town, great place to grow up. But
So with that, let's take it away. Hit us a little bit with your bio. Let us know the background and I guess even how you ended up now as a commit for the Hoosiers.
so I guess I'll just start with when I was younger. But obviously, my dad played 7 years in the big leagues before I was born. So that kind of jump started my baseball career because obviously it's like my dad played baseball. So he kind of wanted me to play baseball. And after I started playing it, I loved it. So I guess, yeah, pretty basic. I played baseball since I was like 3, little league, all that stuff. Then in high school, my freshman year was when I started playing like actually summer ball. So like with a travel team. So played on like a travel team my freshman year of high school. It was fine. Didn't really know what I was going to do yet. Sophomore year, was really looking forward to the season. I was a lot better in freshman year, and then COVID hit. So no baseball sophomore year. And then there was junior year, football, basketball, baseball. And junior year was like, I guess, my biggest jump, I guess, because freshman year I threw like 20 innings with probably like a 6 or 7 ERA. I don't know, not too good. But then junior year, I think I threw like 60 with around, I think it was like 75, 80 strikeouts. So I had a really good year. And then I played for, you probably never heard of it, the River Bandits, but it's like
No, I know the River Bandits being a
the River Bandits.
Northwest Ohio guy.
It's like the Northwest Ohio, anyone who might want to go play college baseball just plays on that team. I don't know, it's really fun because like there's probably like 4 or 5 guys I played against after high school and like college and stuff. Like Kraus was on our team, Newman was on our team, Jurger from Defiance went to Ohio, he was on our team. So I mean that was really fun. But my junior year, I went to a couple PBR showcases just because like I wasn't talking to anyone, and I was like, well, I got one more full year until I have to go to college. So if I want to do this, it's going to have to probably start pretty soon. So I went to a PBR showcase in the beginning of June, and that's when Coach Mack from Toledo saw me. So he gave me a call after that and just talked a little bit. Nothing really came from it. And then there was like another month, I went to another PBR showcase, and he was there again. And that's when he was like, hey, let's bring you on a visit. And then went on the visit. Coach Rob gave me like a spot on the team the next year, PWO, walk on spot. But I was like, either I'm going to play at Toledo or I'm going to go just do school, because that's another big part that I obviously get into later. But so yeah, Toledo was a great fit. Freshman year, I'm pretty sure most freshmen who show up on campus are like trying to be so good, and then they kind of struggle a little bit. But my freshman year I struggled. I think it was more so just like I was too scared of giving up a hit to try to attack hitters, which is the opposite of what I do now. Because like I was just trying to not give up a hit, which led to walks and more hits, obviously, because it's 2-0, and I'm like, all right, I need to throw a strike now, and they know a fastball's coming, and then it's a little bit easier to hit when it's like that. But yeah, freshman year, I was pretty much on the track to redshirt, and then like a month left in the season, Coach Rob and Coach Sheehan, who was my pitching coach freshman year, were like, hey, what do you think about getting some innings to end the season, go into next year running instead of pretty much being like another first year of college baseball? So I was like, all right, let's do it. So I threw, I think it was like 8 or 9 innings my freshman year, all in like the last month, and then went into summer ball. Struggled a little bit there with command. I think I had like 27 or 28 walks in like 26 innings, so it's not ideal.
What team were you on that first year?
The coffee paints.
Okay. A little prospect league action.
That's a whole other grind. It's 8-hour bus rides, and you're staying in Super 8s with 3 other dudes. Yeah, it was an interesting experience. And then that summer I struggled a little bit. So I worked with the Mudhens pitching coach, was my dad's best friend when they were playing together in San Diego. So he obviously coaches in Toledo. So a couple times I would like go up in the summer, like before the season started or the fall started, and throw like a bullpen or two with them. And that's when he taught me the sinker, which is my fastball now, and I've been throwing it ever since. He taught me that, and then he gave me like a couple cues to work on because I was flying open with my glove side a lot. So I was like missing here with everything, and then I was trying to get it more in the hula hoop of the zone. And then we had our pitching coach, Matt Silverman, come in, and he helped me a lot with the mental side, which I think was the biggest thing for me, because once I got over the fact of people are going to hit the baseball, it's inevitable. It'd be better to attack them and work on your strengths rather than trying not to give up hits. So that was the big thing my sophomore year. And then my sophomore year, I had started out in the bullpen, like 1 inning a weekend for the first like 4 or 5 weeks. My first outing of that season was Friday night at Mercer. So that was awesome because there was a whole bunch of people there. It was opening night. It went pretty good. I think I had 3 or 4 strikeouts and 1.2. So that was a really good outing. Started the season off really good. So I was in the bullpen as like just like short relief for the first 4 or 5 weeks, and then I started going like 3 to 4 innings out of like long relief kind of the next 3-ish weeks. And then one of our starters got hurt a little bit, so he couldn't start. So then I got kind of thrown into the starting role. The first couple starts were weird because it was like I was trying to like be a whole nother pitcher, but it's like the same. I just thought about it like the same thing. Instead of the 5th inning, I'm just throwing in the 1st inning. So that helped me a little bit that year because it was like I was trying to make something out of nothing, and I just needed to calm down and pitch a little bit. But I had a couple good starts to end the year. I had, I think it was 6 innings, 1 run against Notre Dame, 5 innings, 1 run against Eastern was like my first like real, like actually good start. And then in the postseason in our tournament we played Miami game 3, and I ended up going 8 1/3 that game. So that was the most. My pitch limit before then was like 75 or 80, and then that game I was had to save the bullpen and everything, and I think I ended up throwing like or so, and I was like, arm feels fine. I'm gonna go back out there, but yeah, it was fun. We ended up winning that game, but then we lost the next one. So, but we needed to save the bullpen, so I did what I could. I think I was like 55 pitches through 6, and then I gave up a lot of long at bats the next 2 innings to kind of build that pitch count. But it was going really good. And then I was going to go play summer ball in Virginia with Culpepper with one of my teammates, but I was like, my arm is really sore. I want to take a little time off. And that was also, I was studying for the DAT, which is like the MCAT for dental school. So I'm studying for that in the summer. I'm giving pitching lessons up at Toledo twice a week for 10 hours a day. That was a grind, but it was really fun. I enjoyed the relationships I made with like the kids and stuff. That was fun. That summer when I started to ramp back up again, I was like, my arm does not feel like I think it should after taking a month and a half off of throwing. And that's when I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to try to figure it out. My senior year of high school, I had some forearm pain, but it was like this part of my forearm. And I went to Luke Krause's dad, the chiropractor, and I don't know what he did, but after like a week and a half, it was feeling pretty much back to new. So I was like, might as well just go see him again, see if he knows what's up with it. So I went there, and then he told me about the FlexPro Grip, and I was like, I'll give that a look, because I'm like looking for anything to try to help my arm feel better and hit the fall running, I guess. But I think that's kind of when I got in contact with you, was like July-ish last summer, and then started that out. But I mean, it was like I was fighting uphill battle trying to throw with my elbow hurting, and it got to a good point after I was using the Flex Pro for, I think it was about like a month or so. It was feeling good, but then like I think when I got back on campus, I threw like 2 bullpens, and I was like, this does not feel good.
Right, not exactly where it needed to be.
Yeah, I was like, for the amount of time I took off after the season, it's not feeling how it's supposed to. So we took like 2 weeks off of throwing and tried to get back into it. Like 2 days later, it was like, maybe not 2 days, like 3 days later, I was like trying to like lob the baseball like 50 feet. And I was like, oh my gosh, this does not feel good. Like my elbow's throbbing. We go and see the doctor at Toledo, and he said it was like, there's definitely like some pain and stuff there, but he was like, give it another like 2 weeks, don't throw for 2 weeks, and then try to go back into it. Didn't work. And I was like, all right, let's go back to the doctor, see what's wrong. And then we get there, and he's like, all right, there's definitely something wrong if you can't throw a baseball 50 feet without pain after taking a month and a half off. So we ended up doing a PRP injection, which I don't know if you know about that, or I should like explain it a little bit for the people listening who probably don't know what it is. But pretty much like they take your blood, they spin it out to get your platelets, which is in your plasma, which is, I guess, like the healing stuff in your blood. They take that like concentrated platelets and put it back into like the site of the injury to kind of promote healing. And the first 3 days is like you can't move your arm because it's so stiff, and it's like, oh my gosh, this sucks. But after 2 weeks of like just really light rehab, just like moving my arm and like 1 or 2 pound weights and like bands and stuff with our PT team, it started to feel better. And I was like, this is promising. So we did that for 2 weeks, and then we had another 2 weeks of like heavy PT to just try to get like the rest of my arm ready to throw, because like it was a bunch of like back of the shoulder stuff and a bunch of rotational stuff, because I haven't been doing that since last May. So it was like, all right, we have to get ready for this. And the whole plan was to be ready to throw by week 1. So it was like, we're trying to fit a whole bunch of stuff in. We're trying to fit a whole fall and preseason into 5 weeks until the season starts.
And if I can cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm sure what's going through your head every time you take, well, first the initial month and a half off, which I don't know if that initial 6 weeks was planned to be 6 weeks, but
Yeah.
you probably thought like, oh, I'm going to feel great coming off of this. And then you take
Yeah.
the
I was
additional
like, all right,
2
2 weeks
and
and
the
I'll feel great.
additional 2 and the additional 2. And you're probably starting to like
I'm
click
like,
through the mind, like,
yeah,
this isn't going right.
we have 3 months until the season starts, and I still can't throw a baseball over 20%. I was like, it could be interesting. So, but yeah, then after the PRP, it was like 5 or 6 weeks of just like a throwing program. Like the first 3 weeks was literally just going like this into a net and trying to get my arm moving again in like the right arm path, which was, that was tough. That sucked.
Those were some ugly throws that
yeah.
you had sent me on video.
Like, my arm is like stuck behind here and it's not going up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was like, I know that it's not looking how it's supposed to, but I don't know what to do in my mind to get it to feel like it is. So that was like for 3 weeks, and then it was like, all right, we're gonna try to like ramp it up a little bit, because the season, it's January 2nd, the season starts in the second week of February. Then it was more so like try to lengthen it out a little bit, stay on the throwing program because obviously it's going to be sore, but you kind of have to work through some of that to an extent to kind of build volume and stuff like that, which my trainer and stuff helped me out a lot with, and it was really good. But my first bullpen was the first week back on campus in the spring semester. Most people listening know that it's like you got 3 or 4 weeks in January and early February, and then the season starts. So it's like my first time on a mound was like January 10th or 11th or so, and I'm like, all right, we'll see how it goes. And then I faced, after like 2 weeks of bullpens, I was up to like 25 pitches in my bullpens and throwing off speeds and stuff. And then it was like, all right, let's put hitters in there to just stand there, but they're not going to swing, obviously, because you're still throwing bullpens. So I did that for 2 bullpens. And then, all right, we play Oregon in 2 weeks. You might need to like throw a live AV or something like that. So Tuesday before we left for Oregon, I faced 6 batters. And that was the first time I faced a batter since my start in the tournament. And I was like, I'm just going to throw whatever I can at these guys and try to get them out because we play Oregon in 5 days. So
you were 8.5 months removed from your last at bat.
Yeah. And then, so I did that on Tuesday. We leave on Wednesday to go to Oregon. And then my first, I would say that my first 4 weeks of this season were pretty much just like an opener to like get my work in as a starter, because like warming up and everything would take me longer than most people because like my arm, I wanted to make sure it was feeling good. So, but like having to do a warm up in like the middle of a game and like not knowing if I'm going in the 6th or the 7th was tough. That was really good with what they did. I would just like I threw 1 inning at Oregon, 1.2 at High Point, 3 at Richmond, 3 at Miami, 4 and a third at Ball State. And then it was like I was built up enough to like be an actual starter. But it was weird because like obviously in the fall and like preseason is like when you work on your pitches and executing stuff, and maybe like you add like a changeup or a cutter or something like that. But I was like, all right, I got my sinker, slider, and curveball right now. I'm gonna throw that. And then I started working on my changeup during the year, 10 weeks in, because like I wasn't getting like strikeouts as much as I wanted, and like righties, I was like 70% fastball. My sinker to righties was really good, but I was like, maybe we can like add a changeup to righties, right on right changeup, who knows? And me and Lando would like joke around with that like for like 2 weeks before we actually did it, and then we were like, let's just do it.
Screw it, it's time.
So it's like we were facing ETSU, and like I didn't throw my changeup before then, and then I think that game it was like 45% changeup, and I had like 5Ks on changeups. And I was like, let's just keep doing this. So we just ended up like throwing a lot of changeups.
We should call a quick timeout again to say, I don't think everything you did might be the most recommended process for any pitcher.
No, I would not.
You obviously went into this with a lot of calculated risk, and I know we're going to talk more about your academic pursuits separately, but I would have to guess in this entire process, you're probably thinking, well, I'm going to go to dental school anyways at some point.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, my plan is to go to dental school after my 4th year. So like, why not just go and pitch and do what I can with whatever I have and how I feel now. Obviously, I would have loved a whole fall and spring to build some velo and work on pitches and executing below the zone, which was a struggle for me this year sometimes. I threw way too many strikes, but like when it was like 2-2, I would love to just like put it outer black at the bottom of the zone, but like sometimes it would just leak over the middle, and then it'd get like a ground ball instead of a swing and miss, which like is fine. Then my strikeout numbers were lower, but I mean, sometimes it would still be a ground ball out instead of a strikeout, which can't complain. You can only do so much.
just metrically not as cool.
Yeah, metrically, statistically, it's like, all right, you don't have a strikeout an inning. Instead, you have like a bunch of you have 2 ground balls an inning. So, but
yeah, you might be leading the nation in ground ball rate, but you are bottom 3rd in K rate.
Yeah, exactly. Which more double plays, I guess. So you can't argue with that. But it was weird. Obviously, just trying to like in the fall, you're working on things in like scrimmages, and I was like working on things against like Ball State. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, in a game that actually means something for
Yeah.
MAC tournament play down the
Yeah.
line.
Exactly. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can with whatever I have. I'm not going to make excuses that I haven't thrown to a batter since last May. I'm just going to go pitch against Oregon and see how it goes. So, yeah, the season ended. I guess I'll touch on the monsoon game that I had to pitch in.
Well, don't worry. We're going to dedicate a lot of time to the monsoon game.
So
That's going to be the second time this is talked about on the podcast. I know you've had a lot going on in the past couple of weeks here, which we led on to with the IU commitment, where you're at currently with this AI generated background or what looks like one behind you, which is not actually an AI generated background. But beautiful stuff. You've been all over the country, obviously, in these last couple of weeks. But your boy Lando made an appearance on the podcast, and we opened up with the monsoon game. So that before I even let him give his intro, I made him talk about the monsoon game. So trust me, there is a dedicated segment to that. So if you want to go back to talking about debuting changeups mid-season and just taking risks, by all means, take your time getting to the monsoon game because we're going to talk about it.
So, I'll just go back to when I started throwing the changeups, I guess. So, I guess ETSU was like the first changeup game I had, and me and Lando were like, that's working really good. Let's not throw changeups. I think I might have thrown like 2 right-on-right changeups my whole life up until ETSU, and then I think like the last 5 weeks was like 30% changeups to righties, which I mean was good for me because they're looking at the scouting report even after like 2 weeks of it, and they're like, all right, he's like 5% changeups to righties. But in reality, the last 2 weeks it was like 30%. Yeah, but like working on executing pitches and like working on pitches mid-season is like not a fun thing to do, especially like when you're just trying to win games and like you're working on a changeup week 12. So that was interesting. And then we have the monsoon game, which we're going to talk about. And then 3 days later, I started against Ball State in the tournament. We ended up winning that game, winning 2 more games and making it to the championship, which was really cool because it was like the first time Toledo was in the championship since like 2003 or 4, maybe. I think it was like 20 years. Getting in the losers bracket is tough to claw back out of because we were on our 6th game and Miami was playing their 3rd game. So it was like, all right, we're going to throw whatever we got at you and do our best. But yeah, it was a fun season. And then after that, I came down to Morehead City, and that's where this place.
For the visual crew, it's beautiful. For the non-visual crew, we're staring off at the Atlantic Ocean behind Jackson here.
The ocean is over the island. This is
my bad.
This is the mainland, and then it's called the Sound, and then there's the island, and then there's the ocean. But
my bad.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's still really pretty. But yeah, so I'm down here making. I think the way they do it here is like your starts are like twice to the lineup. So whatever that is ends up being is whatever I throw for the week, I guess. But yeah, so then obviously I want to go to dental school after this next year. So I was at Toledo for 3 years, and then I was like,
graduated
in 3 years. So then I was like, all right, I need to find a program to do for next year. And I love Toledo, so I was like looking at the Toledo programs, and I was like, none of these are really going to help me either build my application or help me in dental school. So I was like, it's probably not going to work, which really sucked because I love Toledo and I was there for 3 years and would have loved another year there. So I had to enter the transfer portal, and through that, the main 3 schools I was talking to was Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Indiana. Yeah, I went to Indiana, and it was everything I could have wanted. Had the program I wanted. I mean, their stuff is insane. They're going to have the first Big Ten pitching lab this year. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they're going to have the force plate mound in their bullpen with the TrackMan and the Edgartronic cameras and stuff like that. So that's going to be really huge for the pitching development there. And it was just a perfect fit. Like the coaches were what I was looking for. The strength training is what I was looking for. Nutrition, everything like that. It was like, how can I not go here for 1 year? It's an awesome program and the coaches are great and it'll be really fun. I don't know really how much more you want me to get in with that, or if you have any questions or anything like that, I'll be happy to answer.
Plenty of questions. One gripe I have to throw out there. I don't even know if it's a real gripe because I left the state of Ohio to play all my summer ball. But I need to ask, so the
Yeah,
first travel team you played on way back, I know we're going back to the intro of this. Do you
okay,
remember the name of that first travel team you played on?
yeah. It was the Midwest Prospects. It was out of Columbus. So
Okay. All right. So
yeah,
a real travel team, like your first experience with it is like you're legit traveling. You're driving 2.5 hours just to play.
yeah. We were in Columbus a lot. We played a couple tournaments in Cincinnati. Most of them were around the Columbus area, so that was really
Cool.
fun. And we had, I mean, I still talk to a bunch of the dudes that we played with, but like, there's two guys on my team that play at Eastern Michigan now. One guy that plays at Memphis, me, and then there's like a bunch of, I don't know about a bunch, but there's a bunch of guys who are still playing ball. So it was a really
Oh,
fun
heck yeah.
summer. I played on like, I don't know if it was a travel team, but like I played on the Northwest Ohio Big Dogs when I was younger for a
It's a good
year.
name.
But that was like, you're staying in this area. You're only going up to Toledo. So like that, I don't know if I would classify
Playing
that as
in Finley a lot.
yeah, like it was just like a summer all
Right.
star kind of league.
And
But
then the follow up though, and then you said if you were going to play Northwest Ohio or play college baseball out of Northwest Ohio, you probably played for the River Bandits. I was going to say hand up, you might want to say the Western or pretty much if you're outside of Lucas County, you played for the
yeah,
River Bandits.
yeah. It was like because obviously the way like the Legion Ball stuff works is like most of the time you play for whatever like post I guess is what it is like
Yeah.
you're close to. But if you wanted to play for a different one, you have to like have them sign off on it. So like the only guys that are playing for the Napoleon team are like Defiance County, Williams County. I don't know the other counties, but like those kind of schools, like Defiance, Napoleon, Tenora, Ayersville,
What is that, Paulding
Bryant.
out there?
Pauling's in their own, so they're in a I don't remember what their team was. Yeah, they're in their own. They have their own post that they play for, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Did
So
like we went
this
to Alaska
is
for 2 weeks with the River
Oh
Bandits.
yeah, I forgot you did that.
That was
Really
awesome.
cool.
That was a great experience. And then we went to like Minnesota my junior year when I played there. But then my senior year went to Alaska for 2 weeks, and that was sweet. Yeah, it was really fun.
Probably worth noting that Legion Ball is still super popular in Northwest
Yeah,
Ohio, or
if
just
you're in
that region in general.
the River Bandits is like after you're done playing like travel ball in like middle school, that's a good, really good program, and like they play some good baseball. Yeah, it's really fun. It was a really fun 2 summers. So
So
that was
yeah, I had to go back and cover that little fun
yeah,
topic. I'm sure you didn't expect to spend a lot of time on those areas, but when you brought
yeah.
it up, I figured it was worth noting. Yeah, I think it's okay now to cover the rain game, cover the monsoon. We heard Lando's take. We know that it was a matchup of premier strike throwers
Yeah.
across the MAC. I think
Hmm.
what we failed to mention, though, with your game starting at 9 a.m. or whatever it was supposed to start at, was
Hmm.
actually already postponed
Yeah.
from
From
like
the day
5
before.
or 6 p.m. the night before.
When we played Ball State, it was raining, but like the balls were dry, so you could pitch in it. The BG game was like, it was like obviously like the conference rivals, really big game, first round of the tournament. Tensions were high, but like it was going to be like a really good game. The Bowling Green pitcher, the first inning had the dry balls, I think. So obviously he had a really good first inning. Second inning, not his fault, but like something
Not
was
so
up.
hot.
Something was up.
Six straight walks or seven
Yeah.
straight walks or something like
So
that.
he goes like 4 or 5 guys, no runs in the first inning. It might have even been 3 up, 3 down. I don't remember. And I go out there and I'm throwing like my warm up pitches and the ball's dry and I'm like, all right, sweet. It's raining, but I've pitched in rain before with dry baseballs and it's been fine. So like, what's going to be any different about this? That is until I got my first ball back during my first batter. Cause like my first batter was like, I think I got to like 1-2, but like the pitch before the 1-2 pitch, like the ball went somewhere, so I got a new one, and that ball was like soaked and slippery, and it was like imagine if you like dropped a baseball into a bucket of water, and then you just pick it up and pitch with it. And my sinker is like kind of offset like one seam, so like I don't have a bunch of like seam to work with. Now I stopped throwing that after my second wild pitch to the backstop because I can't throw it. So I switched to like a death grip four seam, and I was like trying to put it anywhere near the zone. It was probably like 84, 85, just hoping somebody hits it somewhere because like I don't know where the ball's going. So I go after it was 1-2, I get the ball back and it's soaked, and I smoke, I think it was Antilleon, in like right here inside to a
It was
righty.
a nice rib cage shot.
Yeah, and I was like, frick, that's awesome. I was like, can I get another ball, please? And then the next one I get is also soaked. And then that next pitch goes over the batter's head by like 3 feet straight to the backstop. I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, it was so bad. I think I had 15 walks on the season before that game through like 60 innings. And that game was 1 point. No, it was 1 inning, 5 walks, 4 hit by pitch, 6 wild pitches. And the whole season, I think I had 3 wild pitches. So double the amount of wild pitches I had the whole season in 1 inning. And then they were like, all right, obviously no one can throw a strike. We're just going to decide to postpone it now. I think my ERA went from like a 4.4 to a 5.6 that game. And I was like, come on. We couldn't have just like solved
No
it.
hit though.
Yeah, no hits, no hitter. I don't know. It was the weirdest game. Like, obviously when you walk someone in or like hit someone in, you're like upset. But it got to a point where like there was someone on third and I would throw the ball 5 feet over the catcher and umpire standing up. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like I should have done the thing where like you just get it and then keep throwing them back, because
Yeah.
what I think the problem was, they needed to have like, I don't even know how many, like hundreds of baseballs ready for that game if you're playing in rain. And this is kind of what Coach Landon said. He was like, you need 2 full buckets of baseballs and 2 people drying every single baseball that comes in. And you need some kind of system where the umpire was wearing like cloth gloves and he would get a baseball, rub it up with his wet gloves, and then toss it to me. And I'm like, the ball is soaked. I was like, what do you want me to do with this? Throw it to the backstop again? And that's what I did. I was like, all right, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, that's my take on the monsoon game. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a complete debauchery. Like, it was so bad. Lando and I talked about it for a while. And I've encouraged everyone who listens to go look at this on Twitter.
I mean,
on
yeah,
the internet.
there's news articles about it. There's a TikTok that came up and it's like Jackson Bergman no hit Bowling Green, but gave up 5 runs.
I didn't see that.
I'll have to send you the link to that, but it's
Please do, because I'm not deep on TikTok. I mean, I don't have any TikTok, but I'll try to watch that somehow.
It was like, to start off the video, it was like the MAC made a complete mockery in their conference tournament where Toledo and Bowling Green played a total of 2 innings and 16 runs were scored on like 3 hits. I was like, oh my gosh, that is true. But that was an experience. I'll probably never forget that.
No, I don't think you will. I mean, that's not many people play in that situation. Feels like temperature 46 degrees, wind crazy, rain crazy.
Like, I was watching the video back and like I would get the pitch. Well, obviously the pitch comes on like the watch and stuff. I would look down and like water would just like, it's like a gutter was on my hat and it would just go straight to the ground. And I was like, oh my gosh, this cannot be real. Like, this conference tournament, it's supposed to be a huge game and like no one can throw a strike. But yeah, I think I ended up throwing like 45 pitches, 45 death grip 4 seams. And then that was on Thursday, I think, Thursday morning. And then I started again on Saturday morning. So 2 days later, I think I went like 85 for like 90 pitches and threw against Ball State. But yeah, it was interesting, so to say the least.
Well, now that we covered that game, I do want to walk things back and talk about more of what you grinded through on the rehab side. So you gave us the timeline. You talked about time off, try again, time off, try again, time off, try again. I want to spend some time with what you were feeling, not just physically in this
Yeah.
process, but what you're struggling with mentally, or maybe how you were able to keep going when it sounds
Mhm.
like you're just getting hit with hurdle after hurdle after
Yeah.
hurdle.
Obviously, like when it was just time on, time off, you'll be fine to throw in 2 weeks, but then like 2 weeks go and you're not fine to throw. It was really frustrating because like I liked to think that I'll do everything in my power to be healthy because the best ability is availability. So like I try to be healthy and like try to do all my like arm care and stuff like that. Obviously the Flex Pro, and just do what I can to make sure I'm healthy to play baseball because that's my job right now, I guess. Even though it's not a job, but like that's what I'm in college to do. So yeah, I was like I'd be hammering like post throw and arm care before throwing, and like it just doesn't feel good, and I'm like that's that sucks. But the Flex Pro helped me a lot when I was first ramping up, but then it got to a point where like if there's something structurally wrong in my elbow and that's causing pain, like in the UCL, the FlexPro Grip is not going to be able to like mask that completely. But then once we did the PRP and got back on the Flex Pro, that's when it started to like go up a lot. And that's what I credit a lot of it to. Like anyone who asks is like, yeah, I had PRP, but I was also Flex Proing like 4 days a week. And I think that's what helped me be able to pitch so soon. Cause like without that, I think it would have been like an extra 4 or 5 weeks before I was like able to throw a bullpen. But like my arm felt perfect like when I started throwing. Like there was no pain. And it's been like that since then too. Without the Flex Pro, I think it would be like it might feel fine. It'll probably be sore some days still, but like it feels like it did like my freshman year of college, like when there was no arm pain whatsoever. And that's been really good to like look back on because like if my arm still was like painful and I was trying to get back into throwing, it would be I think more difficult. But like the fact that I could throw with no arm pain was like, all right, now I can work on throwing changeups in the middle of the season. I don't know, who knows. It was kind of it was kind of something like that. But yeah, it was more so a lot of just like wondering, like, because obviously you can only do so much to a point where it's like, am I going to be able to throw this season? I'd be talking to my trainer. I'm like, will I be able to pitch like week one? And he's like, that's the plan. So we'll see. But it was a lot of like, we'll see. Like it's hard to have like a set answer on something like that because it's like you don't know in September when you're taking 2 weeks off. It's like, we'll see how it feels in 2 weeks, or do the PRP. And it's like, yeah, we'll see if it worked. If not, we might need to do something else. But I'm glad everything worked out the way it did. So,
Couple questions here. Both can probably take long-winded answers from you, so I'm trying to be very calculated in which one I ask first. But maybe we'll start with more the Flex Pro Grip question. And I
mhm.
apologize to you if this feels leading at all. Please tell me to shut up if you think it sounds like I'm trying to make you plug what we do.
Yeah.
But did it help having data or objectivity to kind of let you know, hey, I'm progressing, hey, I'm getting stronger, rather than you just saying, like, well, I think I did the work?
Yeah, that's kind of like a lot of it is like a guessing game, obviously, when you're doing like, I don't know, you're doing like a BFR or something for your elbow and you're like, we'll see if it feels good tomorrow. I mean, you're just like kind of guessing with everything you're doing, but like you don't know if it's working. But like the Flex Pro, obviously, it's like you start. I think I started my program at like it was like rehab A, B, and C, like 20% or something like that. So it was
Yeah.
starting out really light, and like it was tough at first, obviously, because I haven't been throwing for so long. But then once I started doing that for 2 weeks, it was like, all right, we're going to the next thing, and you just keep progressing, and it keeps feeling better, and you keep being able to throw more and throw harder and throw all your pitches. I guess I'm trying to think how to say this, but like when you're pitching, sometimes it's hard to have confidence if you don't have success, but then your confidence comes off of your preparation because you know you did the work and you know you should succeed and stuff like that. But for the Flex Pro thing, it was like, I know I'm doing this work and I know my arm feels good, so I can not worry about is my arm going to be hurting again in 2 weeks. I did the PRP and I did the Flex Pro and it feels great. I'm not going to worry about it because I know this thing works and it's helped me get here. So I know it'll help me keep progressing and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer or like
No, I
long
think
enough.
that's beautifully stated.
Yeah.
It's so hard because I'm on the side of course, I believe FlexPro Grip works.
Yeah.
I helped build it, and I'm a co-founder of the company. So yeah, I'm going to believe that it can be an answer every step of the way. But when I hear those kind of things coming from a guy like you, candidly, who went through an injury, potentially
Yeah.
career-altering injury,
Yeah.
with no answers or nowhere to turn, and
Hmm.
you think it was a key part of what enabled you to
Yeah.
throw a ball this season, let alone get signed by a Big Ten school, throw the most innings you've thrown as a collegiate pitcher, all
Yeah.
these things that probably 8.5, 9 months ago felt unattainable
Like,
to a certain extent.
am I gonna be able to like maybe I'll be able to throw like by the time conference games start. Maybe I'll be able to throw like 6 weeks into the season. I think it just fast forwarded my whole progression into being able to throw again. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll take that. Thanks a ton for banging for us for a minute there. But now the other question I was going to ask, we're going to pivot back to it. You did eventually get PRP in what was that, like late September or
I
something
think
like that?
it
Early
was
October?
I think it was late October, honestly.
Oh, shoot.
It
Okay.
was late in the fall.
So I know I was banging for a while for you to get checked out, get an MRI, get
Yeah.
something. Of course, I believe FlexPro Grip could help, but we
Hmm.
also didn't know the severity of
You
anything
didn't
that you were
know
really
what was
dealing with.
wrong with my elbow. And it was
Right.
like, is it a muscular thing? Is it like is it a ligament? And it's like, we didn't know. And that was tough because I was like trying everything I can and it doesn't feel good. We're 2 months into the fall now and we haven't made any progression from when I showed up in August. And it was like, that was the frustrating part for me because I'm doing everything I can, but we don't have an answer on what it is. Yeah, I'm glad we figured it out. And then it was like, all right, it's not the Flex Pro. Like the Flex Pro was helping as much as it could, but to an extent, it was like something is not right. And then
You had a
once we
small
fixed that,
structure.
yeah, and then once we fixed that, it was like all the
Yeah.
way. It was like a quick. I mean, from not throwing to having PRP, and then 2 months later, pitch at Oregon, I think is a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. Now, if you can be critical of your own process, I'm assuming 2020 hindsight, you would have tried to get it taken care of sooner or get PRP during the summer, or do you think it was
Looking,
worth it for you to try to grind through it for a bit?
I think looking back at it, if I would, there's a bee. 1 second, I don't want to get stung. That would suck. Oh my gosh.
I'm keeping this in.
Okay, I got it. We're good. It was legit like an inch from me. That was terrifying.
Please tell me it was a wasp, not a bee.
It was a wasp. It's still alive. It flew away. So hopefully it doesn't come back for me. Yeah, looking back, it's like it's tough though because like you got to go through like all the processes and stuff like with the, especially when you're with like the school. The school has like their process of going through athletes who have like something wrong with them, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do the least amount of stuff first, and then, I mean, it's the way I feel like every single school is like, we're gonna try to do the least amount of stuff to see if you're okay first, but then like the MRI doesn't tell us anything. Well, it's like at first it was like the ultrasound, so it was like the ultrasound doesn't tell us anything, then we'll get an MRI. If that's not there, then we'll get the MRI with contrast. But if that's still not there and that's not working, then we'll get a second opinion. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it was a bunch of like 2 week spans of if this works, we'll do something else. If this works, we'll do something else. And it was like, come on, can we please just figure it out? I didn't know it wasn't good until like the second week of September because I took the summer off. If I would have been throwing in the summer and felt like that same pain in June, I'm sure we would have been 3 or 4 months ahead of where we were. So, which would have been good, but at the same time, you can't go back and change that. So,
Right.
you just kind of do what you can with what you have.
So maybe we pivot again a little bit here. We've talked about dental school in the process. You studied for your tests all last summer, graduated early from Toledo. Feel free to talk about your nerdy side a little bit. When did you figure out you wanted to be a dentist? Have you always been passionate about school?
I've always liked school, I think because I was good at it. Obviously, you like things that you're good at. I really liked the STEM classes. Like, I was really good at science and math in high school. So I was like, all right, I want to do something that involves that. Then you look at what is that? You can go to medical school, dental school, PA, nurse, you can work in a lab, you can do engineering, you can do a bunch of stuff. And then at that point, it was like, I'm going to try to narrow down the options and like what I don't like about them. And like, I was like, I don't want to work in a lab. I don't know why, like there's no windows and it's weird. I don't want to work in a lab. I don't want to be a physician. I want to have like some work-life balance and stuff like that. And I mean, the physician is, you get your schedule from your hospital you work for. The thing that I liked about dentistry is you have a good work-life balance, but at the same time, you go to school for 8 years, but at the end of the 8 years, you can start practicing. And for med school, you go to school for 8 years, then you have another 5-year residency before you can like start actually being a physician. And I don't know if I want to wait 13 years. 8 years is long enough. Part about dentistry that I obviously like to work with my hands, but you're not going to be doing the same thing every day. Like there's different procedures that you do. I've always liked trying to get as good as I can at things. And I mean, that's what dentistry is. Like you have 10, 12 different procedures that you do, and you try to get as good as you can at them. And I just like challenges. I think if I didn't have like a challenging career, I would go crazy because I obviously want to keep trying to be good at things. And then, so my junior year of high school is when I was thinking about all this, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And then my mom was like, why don't you just go watch Shay, who's like our family's dentist, and we're pretty good friends with them, for a day. So I did that. At first, I thought the dentist would just came around and checked your teeth at the end of the appointment, but I didn't know like at the back of the office is like where they actually like do their procedures. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then like throughout the day, I was like, this is a really cool career. And I was like, let's do it. So that's kind of how I came to dentistry. And then you got to do all the prereqs, and then you got to shadow. And I think I've shadowed like 100 hours the last 3 years, which is a lot, but got to shadow, got to do everything you can to get in. And that's kind of like where the program I'm doing at IU is going to help me kind of just strengthen my application, and it'll help me have a better understanding of healthcare as a whole. It's kind of what the program is.
And what is the program there?
It's a 1-year graduate program in public health.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be a really good program. Yeah, that's kind of how I got to that. So, and the good thing is like you can decide you want to do dentistry, but then you start doing your shadowing and you're like, I don't know. But like all of my shadowing experiences have kind of helped me get to the point that I actually do want to do this, and should be a really good career. Yeah.
How difficult is it for you to be in a dugout? Now, I know nobody in the college game actually uses tobacco because that would be illegal. But
Yeah.
how difficult is it for you to be in a dugout and see what goes in the mouths of your teammates?
All the spins and the velos and all that stuff. I'm like, well, it's obviously like tough because nicotine is addictive, and like it's hard to stop doing it, and you feel good when you do use it, but like I'm like, no, I don't want gum recession, I don't want to get gum disease, so like you can do that, feel free. I'm not going to. So whatever you want to do, that's up to you, but like I'm good. But like one of them putting them in, I was like, do you like move it? Because if you keep putting like a Zyn pouch in the same spot, it's going to start to cause recession in that one spot. And I was like, at least just like move it around, like when you put it in, so it's not like always in one spot, and your mouth can kind of recover a little bit. And I'm like, please, I don't want you to have to lose your teeth. But yeah, I don't know, because like they're 20, 18, or they're 21-year-old guys. Like it's their life, they can choose what they want to do. But like I'm choosing not to, obviously, because I don't want to be a dentist without teeth. So,
Right. Yeah, you can't just be the do as I say dentist. You also have to be the do as I do dentist.
Yeah, I'm like, feel free, but like I'm good.
During this conversation, when you were talking about the timeline, I went back through our text messages just to see how everything played out. And you nailed it. You said you did reach out in July. I saw it was July 18th of last year is when you officially sent me the first text. Then I saw I have a text from you on July 19th saying, hey, would it be a good idea for me to do FlexPro on my left arm as well? Because I plan on studying to be a dentist, and I really want to make sure that I have strong, dexterous hands for my entire career. So good for you, man. Like really not just focusing on your career as a baseball player in the moment, but trying to get long-term health.
I mean, if I have this thing, I might as well use it. So, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
great text.
Non-dominant hand is like not as strong, or like you don't have the same dexterity as your dominant hand. So I'm like, if I can do this and it'll help me a little bit, why not?
Love that. I know we spend a lot of time here on the off the field stuff. I do want to ask a couple more questions about the rehab process, if
Yeah.
that's okay. Obviously, it sounds like you had a lot of small hiccups before actually getting the PRP. But once you got the
Yeah.
PRP, was there any major roadblocks, or was it just pedal to the metal, full speed
The
ahead for Oregon?
only roadblock that I had was my arm path was so bad after I started throwing again. And it was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be rough. But there's no pain at all my whole time getting back into throwing. Obviously, there's soreness and stuff, but that's going to come with building volume to pitch over not throwing a baseball for 2 months over a 1.5 month, 2 month. Yeah, there was no major hiccups. Everything went smoothly. The doctor who did my PRP, I think he's done like 15 of, and he like has a plan and stuff that he has out. And like my athletic trainer had like a plan of like when we'd get back to throwing and stuff like that. And we pretty much followed it to a T. A lot of the times when you have plans, you get pushed back like a week or two because you don't feel good, but it followed it perfectly. February came around and I was throwing bullpens and it was like, all right, this is going to work. So yeah, it was good. No hiccups.
You were kind of on your own, it seemed like. If I recall, maybe there were a couple other guys rehabbing for things, but how did it feel after being a part of the team with every single thing you did your entire freshman year, your
Yeah.
entire sophomore year, never being hurt, and then having to step away in your junior year? It's pretty much you and the athletic trainer at every practice.
Yeah, so it was really weird because I would try to do things without throwing Corvilo and some like med ball stuff, but like
Just ripping water bags.
just like water bags, like stuff that I could do that would help me just like stay athletic and like able to throw on the mound. But like at the end of the day, like during practice, I'd just be sitting in the dugout talking to my trainer, and like they'd be doing PFDs and Bundy and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'd love to be out there, but I can't throw a baseball more than 30 feet right now. So like I'm just gonna sit in here with my trainer until it feels better. But yeah, it was tough because obviously I would have wanted to be able to practice and like play in the scrimmages and stuff. It just didn't happen. So it was tough. But after I was able to throw, it pretty much went back to normal, which was good.
You did mention, I don't think I even knew about this, a little forearm hiccup back your senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Was that ever diagnosed as anything, or you just had pain for a little bit?
No, it was, I don't know what it was, but like it was just like my forearm just like locked up for like 2 weeks. And I couldn't even like squeeze the baseball. And it was like, I don't know what that is. And then I went to Kraus and he had like I don't know if he's ever talked to you about it, but like he has that like laser thing that he uses a lot. And I would go there like once a week for like 2 weeks and just laser. And then he would like work on like the structure of like my wrist. I don't really know.
I don't claim to know anything about chiropractic.
But there's like the 7 bones in your wrist, and obviously they have to move around, and I guess they were really tight. And he did some stuff, and after 2 weeks of that, it was fine. So I don't know, it was really weird because it's really sore. But then right after he did that, it was fine forever. Like it never came back, and I was like, that's odd, but all right, it worked. I don't know.
And now another complete shift. Hopefully
Yeah.
you're cool with it. What was it like growing up with a big league dad from a baseball perspective? You don't need to talk about any childhood trauma stuff if there is any and turn this into a therapeutic session. I more mean from a baseball perspective. I do find it kind of funny that you didn't play like super competitive baseball until you were a little bit older in life
Yeah.
compared to most kids. And you were going to others to learn about pitching.
I mean, obviously, the 90s to now is not the same pitching style. Back then, it was like, all right, you're going to try to get to your balance point and then push off as hard as you can, and then you'll throw hard. But, like, obviously now,
like equal opposite arms.
yeah, it's like dump the buckets of sand out, and then you're going to push off with your back leg as hard as you can and finish through your catcher in a fielding position. But, like, it's like now that's not really what people do anymore. Yeah, from the pitching side, I mean, I'll send you a video of my mechanics in high school, and it kind of is exactly what that was. Here, straight out, and then throw. And it was like, that looks really bad. Yeah, he helped me a lot with like the mental side of the baseball stuff, and that was really good. And he helped me with like the pitching stuff, and he's got a lot better because he still gives pitching lessons to like younger kids, and now he is more up to date on like what actually works because there's science behind it, and it's not just like get to your balance point and push off your back leg. But which, I mean, for younger kids it's fine because you're just trying to make like a solid foundation of mechanics. And like once you get older, there's like actually things that matter with your mechanics that aren't really talked about in the 90s, I would say. But yeah, he was done playing before I was born, so I didn't like grow up in the big league dugouts and stuff like that, which would have been cool. My oldest sister did kind of. She was 4 years older than me, so she went to Japan with him for 2 years and lived there. It was good to have that resource, especially with like he wasn't like I go like 0 for 4 with 3 Ks and like I'm getting yelled at in the car after the game, which was good. He let me come to him a lot, and he didn't like try to push anything on me, which was good because then I'd like actually like baseball. If it was like we're going to the cage for 4 hours today, I'd be like, I don't want to, but yeah, it was good.
So from Japan to Hicksville, Ohio seems like a really solid.
Yeah, Japan to West Palm Beach, Florida. Then they moved to Hicksville once I was born, kind of.
Good. Yeah, you really got the nice end of things.
Yeah, definitely.
And this one I always think is funny. Do you throw harder than your dad did?
No, actually.
Really? You haven't eclipsed him yet?
I have not eclipsed him. I think he said I throw harder than he did in college, but
Where'd your dad go to college?
He went to Southern Illinois.
Okay.
Cookies. But that was like back when mid-major baseball was like good. And like you would like go to like multiple mid-major teams would be in Omaha.
Every year.
Yeah. I think they went to a super regional when he played with them. I don't remember, but I obviously wasn't alive. But I throw harder than he did in college, but his all-time like max velo I think is 97.
Oh shoot!
But he said his best year in the big leagues he was like 89, 93. So I don't know.
So right where you're at currently.
Yeah. So but like his top was 97. So I have not reached that yet. Hopefully I do next year. So
yeah, I am wearing the IU Throwing Gas Company t-shirt. Yeah. So hopefully that means a thing or two for you when you get to Bloomington.
They're going to get the fourth plate. So we should be able to sync some stuff up and hopefully throw some fuel.
That would be the goal. Yeah, yes. Well,
throwing slow is not the goal. So throwing hard is better than throwing slow.
Throw hard, boost that K rate, and then you can have the really fun discussion next June where, hey, Jackson has started to boost his velo a little bit. He's now sitting 91, 92. He's topping some fives. He's become a draft prospect at 6'6", the sinker slider combo. It's really good. We like it. And you say, well, that's too bad because I'm going to need at least 500K because I got dental school waiting for me.
Yeah. When I'm done playing baseball, I need you to pay for all of my schooling, whatever that may be, and then maybe we'll think about it. We'll think about it. I don't know. It would be hard for me to not, if I got accepted in dental school, because like obviously that's a really hard thing to do, and like I would have to, oh my gosh, I would have to retake the test. I'd probably have to retake a bunch of classes because they expire after a while, and it'd be a whole grind. Because like my Gen Chem that I took in 2019, I think expires after like 8 years or something like that. So I'd have to retake that. So that would suck.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be a grind. So
these are the unspoken of consequences of being a nerd that plays baseball.
Yeah, exactly. And not much other people will talk about it. So, but the cool thing about Indiana, they had a guy graduate from their undergrad in 2020, COVID year. But he just graduated from IU's dental school. That'll be nice to have that contact. And then his dad's also a dentist too, and he works with the dental school in Indiana. So that'll be nice.
So you can rub elbows with some good people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it should be good. But Bloomington is like, I think it's like a really nice college town. I went on my visit there, and it's like 45,000 people live there, but then like 50,000 people go to school there, compared to like Toledo's 200,000 people live there and 14,000 people go to school there. So yeah, it'll be different, but it should be fun.
It'll be a blast. I'm really excited for you. You
Yeah,
have passed my line of questioning. I'm good. I surrender everything else because worst case scenario, I just pick up the phone and berate you with something else.
which I'm sure might happen. Who knows?
Well, it's going to happen. I'm sure we're going to talk here in the next couple of days. You got to tell me about the start that you have
Yep.
tonight.
Got to start tonight.
Unfortunately, the timeline of the podcast doesn't work out super well with the recording, but we'll hear about it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I'm gonna go get some lunch. So
Perfect. So that's not. I'll end the podcast a little bit better than that. But do you have anything else that you feel you need to get off your chest, or are you good at this point?
I think we've covered everything. So yeah, not much else I could think of about my baseball story, I guess. So
Well, the rest is still unwritten.
yeah, true. We got another year at Indiana, and then who knows?
For sure. Well, I appreciate the time today. As always, I appreciate our conversations. Been honored to get to know you over the past year
That's
at this
awesome.
point, or past 11 months, trending up on a year, and looking forward to bright things from you. But to everyone out there who tuned in, thanks for laying back with us.